system, basically now we're going to do two inequalities on the same piece of graph paper. Now, if you look right above that number 6, though, notice it says here, number 1, it says that we're going to lightly shade each individual inequality. So very lightly we're going to shade. Once we do the lightly shaded part, number 2 says we're going to heavily shade the regions where they overlap. Now, because we're going to be graphing 3, 4 inequalities, it may get a little bit tricky here, so I'm recommending if you have map colors or different color pins, it might make things easier for you to see. All right, so if you've got map colors or different color pins, you might want to pull those out. All right, so here we go. Number 6. I've got y is less than or equal to 3x minus 5. We're going to graph that. Here we go. Negative 5. That's the y-intercept. That's our starting point. 3. That's our slope. Now, that needs to be a fraction, so I'm going to make it 3 over 1, which means we're going to rise 3, run 1. Up 3, over 1. Up 3, over 1. Before you connect the dots, double check what kind of line do we need. It's a solid line. And I also need a shade that says less than, so I should shade to the bottom. This would be the bottom. So lightly shade. Lightly. Not too dark. Very lightly shade. So there's your first one. Now I'm going to graph the second one in a different color. It'll make things a little bit easier to see. So if you have a different color, I recommend that you use that different color. Now we're going to graph y is greater than or equal to negative 1/2 x plus 2. So, positive 2. That's our y-intercept. There's your starting point. Negative 1/2. That's our slope. Meaning we're going to go down 1, 2 to the right. Down 1, 2 to the right. Down 1, 2 to the right. I'm going to get a couple more dots on the other side. I'm going to reverse it. Go up 1, 2 to the left. Up 1, 2 to the left. Up 1, 2 to the left. This is going to be another solid line. There's my solid line. However, notice this one says greater than, and anytime it says greater than, we're going to shade to the top. So again, very lightly, we're going to shade to the top of that line we just made. There it is. Shade to the top of the line. Now here's the important part for us. What we're looking for is the region where they overlap. So what we're going to do is we're going to darken in this area right here. This is where the solutions are at. Where those two colors meet is where the solutions to this system of inequalities would be. So that's the part you're going to darken in for. That's the part I'm going to be looking for when I grade this. That's all the ordered pairs that would satisfy both inequalities. So when we graph systems of inequalities, we're looking for where do they overlap. That's the important part. All right, so that takes care of number 6. Now, if you look at number 7, this time they've given us 3 inequalities. So now we're going to graph 3 of them. So if you look at the first one here, notice it's not in the slope-intercept form. So we're going to fix that real quick. Notice the x is on the wrong side. It should be over here on the right side. So I'm going to subtract it, making it negative x plus 3. There's the slope-intercept form. Now we're ready to graph that. Positive 3. That's our y-intercept. Negative 1. That's our slope. So I'm going to go down 1, 1 to the right. Down 1, 1 to the right. Down 1, 1 to the right. More dots, the better. Get a couple more dots over here by reversing it. Up 1, 1 to the left. Up 1, 1 to the left. Don't get in a hurry. What kind of line do we need on this one? Solid or dot? dotted. There is no equal sign, so we're going to use a dotted line. Then we're going to lightly shade to the bottom. It says less than, so shade to the bottom. Again, very light. Very light. So there's the first one. Now I'm going to grab a different color and grab the second inequality. Y is less than or equal to 2x plus 3. All right, so here we go. Plus 3, positive 3. That's our y-intercept. The slope on that thing is 2, or 2 over 1. So we're going to go up 2, 1 to the right. Need more dots, so I'm going to reverse it. Go down 2, 1 to the left, down 2, 1 to the left, down 2, 1 to the left. It does have an equal sign on it, so I'm going to make a solid line. There it is. It says less than, so I'm going to shade to the bottom. This is the bottom. Again, do the shading light. Very lightly shade. That's the second. Now we can't stop there because we do have a third inequality. If you have a third color, use a third color. It shows up a little bit better. What we're going to graph is y is greater than or equal to negative 3. Now notice there's no x on this, which means we have a slope of 0. Anytime we have a slope of 0, we end up getting a horizontal line. So, it's got to go through negative 3. Let's see if we can find it here. Negative 3 would be right here. I'm going to draw a horizontal line. This horizontal line should be a solid line. And because it says greater than, I'm going to shade to the top of that line. Starting to look like a big old mess. So there it is. Again, very light. Now we got to go in there and see if we can find the part where all three colors overlap. And wherever that section is, that's the part we're going to darken in. Looking for all three colors that overlap. If you look closely, that part is going to be this little triangle that's right in the middle. This is where all three colors meet. So all of our solutions are going to be within this little triangle in the middle of our graph. Those are the ordered pairs that satisfy all three of these inequalities. That's why I said it's a little easier to see it if you use three different colors. You can still do it with the light, but it just makes things a little easier. All right, so on that one we have three inequalities. Same thing on number 8 here. We're going to have three inequalities again. Of course, that first one is not in slope-intercept form, so I'm going to have to do a little work here. I'm going to take that first inequality and get it into slope-intercept form. So I'm going to start by subtracting the 3x. And then from there, I'll go ahead and divide by 2. Negative 3 over 2 can't be reduced, so I'll just leave it negative 3 halves. 12 divided by 2 is a 6. So here's what we're going to be working. That's the first inequality. That's the slope-intercept form. Positive 6, way up here, is our starting point. That's our y-intercept. Negative 3 over 2. Going to go down 3, 2 to the right, down 3, 2 to the right, down 3, 2 to the right. Now notice this inequality does not have an equal on it, so we're going to use a dotted line. It says less than, which means we're going to shade to the bottom. Very lightly shade to the bottom. Very light. And that takes care of the first inequality. The second inequality we have is y is less than or equal to 2x minus 1. So this was already in slope-intercept form, so we're ready to start graphing this. -1, that's our y-intercept. 2, that's our slope. So we're going to rise 2, run 1, up 2, over 1, up 2, over 1. Going to get a couple more dots over here, going down 2, 1 to the left, down 2, 1 to the left. This one does have an equal sign, so we're going to use a solid line. And it says less than would be should be shaded to the bottom. There's the second one. The third one we have here is x is greater than or equal to 0. Now this time it's the y that's missing. And when that y is missing, we have an undefined slope. Anybody remember what kind of line we're going to get on this one here? Vertical. It's going to be a vertical line, straight up and down. Matter of fact, it's going to go right through 0. Notice I'm also using a solid line because it does have an equal sign. Now there is no top or bottom when we have a vertical line. So where am I going to shade? To the left or to the right of the line? Which one? Left. Well, it says the x values have to be greater than 0. Where are they greater than 0? To the left or to the right? To the right. So we're going to shade to the right. Very light. All right, so now we got to dig through there and see if we can find out where the regions overlap each other. Where do all three colors overlap? Be real careful. All right, so it looks like it's going to be right in this area, right here. This is where all three intersect or meet. So that darkened area is going to be where all the solutions are to all three of these inequalities. It satisfies all three. Anything that's not within that shaded area would not satisfy all three inequalities. Might satisfy one or two of them, but not all three. All right, so that takes care of number 8. 3 inequalities all in one graph.